Hello, everyone. It's Gabrielle from A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. This is another installment of my sponsor Spotlight series. And today I have with me Lisa Ludwig. Did I say that right? Yes, Lisa Ludwig from She Trains You. How are you doing today, Lisa?
Good. Thank you so much for having me again today. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. All right, so I'm here to give you a spotlight on your company. So tell us about your business.
So my business started because there was really not a lot of female firearms instructors, and the world was kind of filled with, these really tactical macho dudes who unfortunately I had to, get trained from. But I felt even intimidated. So, I just kind of wanted to create a space that was welcoming for women, even for men, especially newbies, who might feel stupid, going to these like advanced classes when really they're not even advanced classes. It's just the way the company is approaching the market is really scaring a lot of the new people that are coming to our industry because of what's going on in the political atmosphere. So, these companies are just like, I guess, clueless in a way, but they really are scaring, the everyday shooter. So that's kind of how I started. And there was almost a violent break-in in my neighborhood. And, it happened on a Ring camera. And it was basically a lady running into her house and a man following behind her with a 9mm in his hand, a mask over his face. He's donkey kicking the door. The door didn't open, thankfully. And, I was like, yeah, does anybody want to learn how to shoot firearms? Because like if that door would have opened, what would that lady have done? So I really started getting into my instructorship and getting more serious about it, and realized it's a real niche, not only for me, but for women in general in this industry. And so far I've been pretty well perceived. I am a new instructor. I've only been teaching about 3 years now. I was in a good position pre-pandemic, and when the pandemic happened, it kind of solidified my status in the industry, and I became that go-to resource. And everybody was calling me, what do I get? How do I get it? Where can I go? Who do you know? Can we go shooting? And, it was a real different eye-opener to the everyday person who normally would not have picked up a firearm pre-pandemic. So these are people who, never in their life would ever think that they would handle a firearm. And they walk in, really, really intimidated and shy. But by the time they leave me in about 2 hours, they are just an empowered soul, and they really have a good understanding of firearm safety and, what to do if situations arise happening in their home, or if they're even just walking around the street, what to do. So it was a great thing to do, and I love it. It's a great industry, and I'm only just starting, so this is great.
So you teach people how to properly use a firearm.
Yes, ma'am, and also self-defense, but practical self-defense. Like I don't just teach martial arts. Anybody can go to a martial arts studio. I teach stuff that is actually practical, like someone grabs your ponytail, how do you get out of that? Someone grabs your hands, someone chokes you, someone bear hugs you, or they're laying on top of you. A lot of these women, they turn into these like deer in headlights, unfortunately. And it's just sad because all it takes is a couple of techniques and practice, and you can really get yourself out of almost any situation. A lot of these women just get like stuck and scared, and they just, if someone's holding them, they'll stay directly behind the person. All they have to do is move their hips out of the way. and they can get out of pretty much any kind of bear hold. You don't have to stay behind the guy. So just like little stupid things like that, makes you realize like, oh, martial arts isn't real. I mean, although it's flashy and, I get it, but it's not like that all the time. It's a defense, so if someone's to attack you, what to do. And there's so many different scenarios. Like I said, grab hug, ponytail grabs, bear hugs. There's different scenarios. You can't just practice, well, someone's going to grab my hand. What do I do? It's more than that. It's grabs, it's everything. So the more you practice, I mean, if you can get yourself into martial arts, do it. I mean, there's better than nothing. But, just take that kind of with a grain of salt, because a lot of that is very showy and flashy. And, no one's doing flying side kicks into people or crescent kicks, and stuff like that. It's more like grabbing your hair, pulling your shirt over your head, really down dirty type of fighting. Because out in the real world, there's no rules and there's no laws. You can use anything as a weapon. And people do. I've known women to use their heels, their sharp stiletto heels, and have stabbed somebody with them. So anything can be used as a weapon. It doesn't necessarily have to be a firearm. But at the end of the day, we need to know how to get out of those things in order to go get to our firearm, because sometimes our firearm isn't going to be on us at all times. So we have to be able to get out of a grab or something and then be able to get to our firearm and equalize the situation. And honestly, that is the only thing in this world right now that can equalize any situation. I mean, a kid can have a gun, okay, and equalize a situation to an adult. Does that make sense, right? Or a woman to a man can equalize a situation with a gun real quickly. And that's the only thing in this world that does that. Not a knife doesn't even do that. A gun does, though. So it's a good, healthy respect to have a good understanding on firearms in general, not even if you wanted to do home defense, even just as a practical nature. You see a gun, you want to make sure it's not going to go off, get it in a secured position or whatever, you could do that. So there you go.
So you do a lot of things. So you teach people how to protect themselves in a dangerous situation, what techniques to use, and you also teach about using firearms, how to properly use it, not being careless and reckless about it, but actually doing it the smart way.
Exactly. So my niche was, NRA instructors and self-defense instructors are very expensive, right? So I created, and this is why I want to highlight this, because you're more of a school. So I kind of want to bring this schooly right now and be like, look, I created something different, okay? I didn't do, okay, here's my hourly price, although I do that. That's on the side privately, okay? But I do have a membership program that I created. This was no other idea of my own, not to pat myself on the back, but it was something different that was brought to the industry, okay? That I did a monthly membership fee, basically auto pay, right? That women, pay for my lecture, they pay for my NRA instruction, and it was a reasonable fee. Okay, it was something like middle ground where someone really couldn't afford me privately, but they can afford me in a shared space. So it was a nice way to put it, that you could take any industry and kind of bring it out and kind of look at it and see what's missing and fill that void. And that's kind of what I did. And I blew up. I mean, I'm only 3 years old, and I had no members starting, and now I have almost close to 80 members. So it just goes to show, we're doing something right, and we're in that right price level that is appropriate for the everyday person. It used to be that shooting really is only for rich people. And honestly, one of the reasons why I got into shooting too is because I couldn't really afford all the fun stuff. So I needed a business to kind of work with me. And now I have all the fun stuff, right? But all that is in due time and paying your dues. So so that was one thing that I did that was different than everybody else. And also I did something else called a personal protection party, which is like, do you remember? I mean, these are probably kids who are watching this, but back in the day in the 70s.
It's a mixture of kids and adults.
Oh, okay. So it's both. So back in the 70s, I'll help this for the kids.
Okay.
They had something called Tupperware parties. Okay. And I'm sure you know what Tupperware is, right? Tupperware is a container, right? So they had container parties. Okay. This is back in the 70s. So now we have personal protection parties instead of Tupperware parties, where everybody gets around. They listen to me talk about self-defense, how to throw a punch, how to throw a kick, how to block, how to use weapons. And they serve wine and they serve finger foods. And they have a great time. They do it on like a Friday night or something. And I tell you, it's a hit. They love it. So again, thinking out of the box, I'm not just stuck in a range shooting all day long. I could do other things, right? So it's another thing I wanted to kind of bring to your program, that even though I'm a firearms instructor, I'll go to people's homes and train them. I don't have to go to a range all the time. I don't have to be in a school setting or in an office or in a classroom. I get a lot of these instructors saying, well, how are you so successful if you don't have a range? Well, I don't need to own a range. I don't. I just go, I rent the range, and that's it. The client pays for the range. I don't pay for it. That's part of the package, right? So why are you so concerned about owning a multi-million-dollar range? There's no reason for it. So think outside the box. It's not always about starting off with all this stuff. Start minimally, okay? Think smart and think tactfully, and then grow yourself from there. Like, there was a lady I was actually just reading on Facebook, and she's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm packing it up. All my credit cards are maxed out. I quit my full-time job. I thought this was going to be so great. I put all my time, money, and effort into this, and now I feel like a failure. And in my mind, out of that post, I thought, I think she overextended herself, like right off the beginning, because first of all, like me coming from my world and my experiences, I waited for my training of my clients to kind of get in the way of my full-time job. So I had a full-time job for a long time. I was actually an engineer. I was in New York City all the time, prospecting buildings. It was not the funnest, in the pits of New York City with roaches and rats. Okay. So it wasn't the prettiest. Okay. So when my training got in the way of every single night, I had a customer or client and all my weekends were packed. Then I thought about, I think I might want to either go part-time and make my instruction full-time and do it that way, or, just try to go as long as I possibly could and then drop the full-time job and make full-time instruction my focus. So to me, it sounded like she didn't really set herself up right off the bat, like to be successful. And the sounding of overextending herself on credit cards right off the bat didn't sound good either. So you don't always need money for every business. A lot of these businesses start off with zero capital. I literally started off with probably, I want to say $1,000, and I had myself a business. So it's not about capital. It's about your vision and about how you bring it to the market and how you are different than everybody else. Everybody can mold themselves, but everybody's different. And what do you personally bring to the market? That's what's important. And as you can see, I'm personable. I'm very easy to talk to. When we're working with firearms, it's a very tense moment. People get very, very, tense, and I don't blame them. Someone can die really quickly. I could die. They could die. They could hurt somebody. They could damage something. I get it. But it's not the time to be rude to people. It's not time to be condescending. It's time to be understanding. It's time to be patient. And when I finish with my clients, they're like, Lisa, you are so patient and so understanding and so just chill. And, that really rubs off on me and helps me learn, because if you would have been kind of douchey about this and cocky, okay, I wouldn't have been so open to learning so much. So I thought that was a nice touch to my industry, how I bring something different, and also how you just don't have to have a lot of capital to really start anything.
So it sounds like it's sort of like you're a therapist in a way, like you you combine therapy and safety training.
It is true. It's so funny that you say that, because recently I lost a lot of weight, right? And I've been really focusing on my personal, myself, my health, what I eat, everything. And it really does matter, because if I didn't work out, I really felt horrible. Like my body felt horrible. I felt really sluggish. I felt hurt. I felt sore, and I felt tight. So as I worked out, I felt really, really good. And you could tell like my personality even like flourished because I felt so good. So it's kind of like what you put out there kind of comes back to you. So now I have all these women going, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? I want to do it now. So I have all these women like wanting to work out with me, and like now they're starting their workout journey, and they're like tagging me and saying, you know, thank you for inspiring me. And to come from a you know, a firearms background and a self-defense background to being, you know, somebody who is being looked at as like an inspiration is like such a glorious feeling. And I didn't, you know, for even my career, I never would have thought that this would happen to me and that I would get this feedback from me just working on myself and just showing that on Facebook, like, oh, this is me, this is authentically me. I work out, I sweat, you know, you know, I don't have a lot of hair on my head, okay? You know, but I am me. I might not be the most beautiful flower in this world, but I am a flower. And that's all that really matters. I'm in that garden, right? True story.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so let's kind of bring it back a little bit. So in regards to the firearms, what do you think is the most common mistake that people make when using firearms?
The most common mistake that they make is that they don't hire an instructor. That is the biggest common mistake. They think going on YouTube and being YouTube trained and listening to their military buddies and their law enforcement buddies, you know, they get steered in the wrong direction, unfortunately. This isn't Iraq. You know, we live in America. You know, we can't have these really large calibered firearms in our homes and not expecting them to over penetrate into other homes. Okay. And a lot of people don't think about that. So they're buying, you know, these weapons of war. I don't want to say that, but that's what they're marked as, right? They're weapons of war. And, you know, people don't understand that the firearm is a tool. And what you put in that really matters. Like there's different types of ammo that you would put in your gun, right? So one of the type of ammos is called a hollow point. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but basically what that does is it opens up like a flower, and it doesn't over penetrate. If it hits something, it will just drop. Where other people are using something called a full metal jacket, which will over penetrate into people's homes. So people are going to gun stores, buying whatever, and you know the gun store is just like, here, you know, they want to make a sale, they don't care. And you know the people take it home and their response is, you know, I'll learn it when I need to know it. And that's not the time to learn a firearm. You should really be proficient with your firearm before something happens. You think you want to be fidgeting around with things when you're like, oh, and your heart rate's going crazy? No, that's not the time. That's the time when your mind should be kicking into muscle memory, and all the trainings that you've done in the past should come to it. And basically what happens is you go to your lowest level of training when things happen. So if you are hardly trained, you will have that minimal amount of training to have that muscle memory. But if you train consistently, you will have a higher level of training for that muscle memory to come back to understand. And it will be a lot easier and safer for you to, in a moment of panic, know what to do and not just freeze. I think that's pretty much the biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistakes.
Right. So you definitely want to have the right training. You don't want to go out and do it.
Just don't go and buy it and go to the range and just like expect to not hurt people or hurt others or cause property damage. It's very dangerous. You know, accidents happen really quickly, and especially when guns are flying, ammo is flying, you know, 1,100 feet per second. You know, there's not a lot of time for adjustments, and that's where mistakes happen. And you know, that's just not the time. You should really get out there and get used to it and understand. Like even the bang, a lot of people are like, oh my God, you know, it sounds like a firecracker in your hands, you know? And it's like, how many, like even your brain is like, I'm holding on to something that's going bang, you know, and I'm consistently holding the thing. I'm sorry, I have indigestion. So I'm consistently holding it, and it's banging in my hand. I'm holding it like you just want to drop it because it's going bang. So even that alone is a little bit to kind of get over. But once you kind of get over that fear factor and you kind of like your wall drops a bit, it actually becomes very fun. And people look at it like a carnival shoot. Like, have you ever been to a carnival before and you shot out stars on like that game? Or you did like the water balloon thing. It's kind of like that. It's really fun to do. That's why it's a sport. It's not just for home defense. People have competitions. They have clay competitions. They have handgun competitions. They have rifle competitions. They have long range competitions. They have a bunch of stuff that people can do. It's not just about, protecting your home. Always a bonus, but that's what people like to do. Also, and hunting. I'm not a big hunter, but people like to hunt. And that's how they do it. That's what it is.
Pretty much. All right. So let's talk about your business structure, so to speak. So you have a range, you said. You also go to people's homes. What about virtually? Do you do anything virtually?
I do. And because of the pandemic, it kind of really opened up my, eyes to, Zoom and other types of platforms. Yeah, I mean, it's great because at the time there was people all over the country, like kind of calling me, and because they were so at loss and they couldn't really go out. So they saw a female and they were like, let me try to work with her. And we did a lot of like handgun manipulations. Like a lot of people having problems like racking the slide or cleaning a gun. We would take it down together, put it back together, through video, or maybe somebody wanted to do just go over just a lecture portion, because honestly, shooting is more than just shooting. Like, there's actually theory behind it and lecture that you have to hear and understand in order to apply that towards shooting, because it's more than just putting a gun up to your shoulder and pulling the trigger. There's so much to it. Like, there's distances involved. There's wind is involved. Everything. What's behind it is involved because it can overpenetrate, right? So you have to make these quick split decisions quickly. And this is why police officers have such a tough time deciphering good from bad. I'm not talking about all of them. I don't want to get controversial, but the point is that day in and day out, they have to deal with quick decisions, like on whether their life is going to be taken or not. And you don't know if that gun, if it's going to be a gun, a knife, a sandwich. You have no idea. You have no idea how many people have died from a sandwich, because a gun looks like a sandwich if you think about it. The aluminum foil on it. So they took out the sandwich, and it looks like a gun, and now we have a problem. So it's so crazy. Maybe they worked a long day. Maybe it's hot. Maybe they didn't eat enough that day. Maybe they're dehydrated. Maybe they had a fight last night with their loved one. Maybe they're having problems at home. You don't know what a police officer is going through, and he has to operate like that. How many industries that we have in this world that you have to make a decision like that daily, and it requires protecting your life. You don't. Not even firemen. So it's a scary industry, and I really do feel for the police. But the point is that training is huge, and if you're not willing to put that time in, you really can hurt somebody or hurt yourself.
That's definitely true. That's definitely true. All right. So I'm a customer. I come up to you and say, hey, I heard about you. I want to learn how to use a gun. What do you say to that customer?
Well, I say, do you own a gun? Some people do, some people don't. Around here, you need a license to actually hold a gun. So even if you went to the gun store, like, they won't even let you. Sorry, my dogs are barking. They won't let you touch a gun unless you have a license. So that's the first thing I would ask. If you don't have one and you had a license, I have a bunch of guns that I would let you, try at a range. So that's what I would pretty much say to you. And then, ask you what you really want to use this for. Is it for home defense? Do you want to do it for competition? Do you want to do this for hunting? So it's really about application, because I'm really more of a home defense type of trainer. So if she said competition, or if she said long range shooting, I would tell her to go to someone else, because that's not really my niche. So I like to stay in my lane. Not that I'm not broadened, but that's really more my niche and where I feel I shine. I'm not a competitor in any sense. I do things quick, but I do it for life, not for a timer, or not for fun, you know. So
Right. So when it comes to firearms, it's more like personal self-defense, not like hunting or something like
well, it
that.
depends on the person. Like, my niche is home defense. So I would ask, like you were saying, what would I ask the customer? I would say, well, what would you like to learn the firearm for? Do you want to learn for competition? Do you want to learn for home defense? If they said home defense, I'd be like, great, you found the right girl. If they said, oh, I want to do long range shooting, I'm going to say, I'm going to give you a buddy of mine, and that's where you're going to go, because I can't do that. Also, I don't have a long range range here, so that would also be a problem. But other than that, so that's it. I kind of try to stay in my lane, because I really feel, again, the new shooter, really, that's my niche. They're looking for someone that's kind of softer, who comes to the market a little bit more patiently. And I get a lot of respect for that. That I don't push. I'm not nasty. I'm very good with customer service. People contact me, 24/7, it feels like. And I'm always like, in there, on messaging them or texting them, like, they're like, is this okay? How do I buy this or whatever? I'm always offering free. I don't ever charge anything. Free, whatever. And then, next thing you know, they're telling everybody about me. So that's another thing to bring out to your students, is like, it's not always about getting paid all the time. Like, even tonight, this is an unpaid thing. I didn't pay you. You didn't pay me. You're sponsoring me. Thank you so much. Right. But it's about getting out there and networking. Like, I might not know who your audience is, but it's okay. I want you guys to know who She Trains You is. That's all I care about, and as many people get out there that knows my name, and I keep doing free information and free this and free that, soon enough, they're going to be like, how much, Lee? Let's go, and then next thing you know, you got yourself a nice, pretty little business. So customer service is huge, and it doesn't matter what industry you are in. You are dealing with customers. I don't care if it's dogs. They still have owners. Those owners are your customers. The dogs don't pay you. The owners pay you. Okay. So they are people. We have to learn how to work with people, how to be patient with them. Customers, I'm telling you, if you respond to someone quickly, that gives so much respect, that like you're there. Or even if you don't respond right away, just apologize and say, like, look, I was in the middle of a training session. I'm so sorry, but here I am now. Or maybe it was a few days and it was in the spam mailbox. Say that. Say, I'm so sorry. I went into my spam mailbox. I am so sorry. Can I help you? And that's it. And they just, bygones be bygones. The more that you kind of just let it sit and simmer, it's worse. That's a huge thing for me, is customer service. And I work with a bunch of girls that help me with my women's club that I run. And I'm the same way with them. Like, they all have to be cordial. They all have to be nice. They all have to be motivating. They all have to be inspiring. And it's important, because it's that type of space that helps people, bring the best out in them, and they don't have those walls up. And once those walls are up, it's very hard to break through it. And it's just a bad way to teach. So that's it.
All right. Well, I sense that most of your clients are women, and it's even in your business name. She Trains You. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. Like I said before, is that there wasn't a lot of women instructors in my area. And if they were more competitive. They weren't home defense. And when someone's a new shooter, they don't want to be competitive right off the bat, because they don't know anything. And they feel like, how can I be a competitor when I don't know anything? And that's the truth. That they have a point. So, the women, if they do see that, I just had a call tonight, literally right before I got on this, and she was like, you know what? I went to a gun store. They gave me another guy's information. I called him. I looked online. It said all this stuff, and it kind of intimidated me. So I went back on Google and I put in women's firearm training, and I happened to pop up. And she called me and she's like, look, the reason why I picked you was because you looked really non-intimidating. You were a woman and I like that. And, what I was given seemed very advanced. And I don't think that's me. And I was like, that's pretty cool of her, like kind of knows her lane. Like, she's like, look, I'm new. That looked a little too much for me. The guy was intimidating, and I think that's kind of what made me so successful is that I am a woman in this industry, although, I'm not the most feminine woman, but I am a woman in this industry and I understand everything that you girls go through, including using a bathroom with a firearm is not the easiest thing to do, right? Not without losing it and it flying under 3 stalls. So, women are different. Women learn differently. Women don't want to be touched by men as well, which is another problem. Maybe they were a victim of a crime or domestic violence or maybe incest or rape. And they don't want to have a guy touch them because unfortunately I do have to manipulate people sometimes because I can't get it out of my mouth fast enough what I want their body to do. So I just kind of like move their hips or I'll push their shoulders forward or something, or lift up their arms or whatever. So that's another reason. And also women feel like men will think that they feel stupid if they ask them something that maybe they quite didn't understand, or maybe they were told didn't quite get it. Like with me, they'll be like, wait. Can you say that again? Or can I just do that again? Or like they're very like open with me, which I feel like they wouldn't be like that with a man. They would just be like, oh, okay, right, I got it. And they wouldn't really delve into it. And I've been told that many times that that is the case. So I think that's another reason why, they do, they are attracted to me in that way where they just want somebody that's just going to be real with them, and teach them just what they need to know, not a bunch of fluff, not a bunch of, crap. And at the end of the day, they just want to be safe with their family. And that's what I try to provide for them.
All right. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So tell us about your goals. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, in 5 years. Wow. Whew. I don't even know what I'm doing next month. 5 years. Well, since I've only been doing this about 3, I can only imagine where I will be in 5 years. I'm really hoping to be, I almost want to be like that go-to resource for women in a non-biased form, where I'm not a gun store and I'm not, trying to push something on you. And I really hope that I become more of like a household name for women and that they really jump onto this. And it's unfortunate that we're not teaching people to not be bad people. And we're not teaching boys to not hurt girls or tell boys to not rape girls, right? But that's not how it goes. We have to teach ourselves to get out of these situations. And if we don't set ourselves up for these situations, that we're setting ourselves up for disaster. So it is about your future self. I would hope that I would have other chapters or other franchises maybe in the rest of the United States would be great. It's just a pipe dream, and maybe own a range one day would be fabulous as well. But again, like I said before, it's not necessary. It's just something that would be great. It would be nice to have a place to hang my hat, and all my training stuff that takes up half my house. But other than that, I think that wraps it up.
All right. And those are really good goals. So the fact that you have goals is a plus.
That's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we were talking about self-defense and firearms. Do you ever find where the two areas come together in a way? Like, how do you teach someone to defend themselves against a firearm?
I do actually. It's a very controversial thing as well, because at that point, that's really like your last resort, because you're supposed to just run if you can run first, right? If you can't run, you got to hide. If you can't hide, then you have to fight. So that would be your last chance. So it's not something I would suggest to run up to like a shooter and like grab the gun, or anything like that. But if a gun is pointed to your head and you know it's coming, you might as well do something, right? You could just sit there like sheep. So yes, we do train self-defense on someone that also has a gun as well. Also, if you have a gun and they have a gun, but they don't know you have a gun, you can't just like pull your gun out. They're going to shoot you. Like you got to be like tactical about it, right? So, you have to wait for your moment. Maybe they turned around, maybe they got distracted or whatever. That's your moment. You don't just like, oh, he has a gun. Hold on, let me match you. I got a gun too. You know what I mean? Like, and people do this. It sounds funny and like kind of stupid, but people do it. Just like, I hate to say this, but in mass shootings, right? People drop to the floor, bop, they drop to the floor, but that's it. What happens? They don't get behind anything. They drop. That's like their initial response. What happens if there was a shooter right there? They would just shoot them. They have to get behind something. So that's where like training comes in. Yes, get down. That's the first thing. The second thing is find cover, right? So all that is relevant. Even when we're walking down the street, unfortunately, it's slowed down a lot, but people are getting sucker punched a lot. In New York, just recently, a lot of Asians are getting beat up. So it's really about self-awareness and about you paying attention. If you're not paying attention in this world, then you are being set up to be hurt. Okay. If you're paying attention and you're watching everything that's happening, that's going to happen, you will get out of it. And I'll give you a good example. I was on my way to work one day. This is when I was an engineer. I was on my way to Brooklyn, and I live in Long Island. So it was like a 2-hour ride. About 2 hours in, finally, I'm in Brooklyn, and I'm at a light. And I see a bunch of kids crossing the street, and I have my window rolled down, and I hear them say, hey, that car right there. And I look over at them, and they see me looking at them, and I say, my car? And you could tell in their face, like, oh shit, like we got busted, right? So instead of, if I didn't see that, they probably would have did something to my car, but instead they just like walked up to my car and just like, like that's it, and they kind of just ran off. But it just goes to show that just because I was paying attention and I was on that and they couldn't like surprise me, I got out of that situation. So self-awareness is huge. We have to stop walking around with our cell phones in our hands. We have to stop walking around with our earbuds in. We have to stop walking around distracted and disheveled looking, like bags hanging everywhere. Look put together. If you look like a mess, they're going to take advantage of you. So, even when you're walking past somebody, you don't need to walk past somebody so close. Give some room. We have all this room in this world. Use it. That's, if we're that close, that's how people are getting sucker punched. There you go.
I got some work to do, it sounds like.
Yes, you do.
So your trainings, are they one-on-one? Are they small groups? How does that work?
Well, I have a few different things. I do have a large group that I work with. I was saying like the 80 women, but I haven't split into 2 chapters. So the most I would have is like 40 on one side, 40 on the other side, basically. But when we do that, we have a bunch of instructors, all female instructors, female range safety officers assisting me to help with the large groups. Other than that, we do like large lectures. So I would have a room with a bunch of people sitting in it and me basically giving lecture. Then we have private one-on-ones, which I do all the time, like during the week on my supplemental times. I'll go, some people are off work now or they work from home. So I've been doing a lot of like day shooting. And then I'll work at night as well. I work on the weekends for privates. And then also I work with like small groups, like families, mother, father, the kids. They all want to get trained together. They all want to be on the same page together because that matters. Like if something were to happen in your house and the police came in, they're going to ask each of you individually what happened. And if your stories do not line up, okay, they're not going to believe you. And if they're not going to believe you, then you have a serious problem. Okay. So, especially here in New York, they're not very friendly with people with firearms. So we have to be very careful what we do and how we use it, and to make sure it was actually a legitimate reason. At the end of the day, we do not want to pull the trigger ever. We don't want to punch anybody. We don't want to hurt anybody, but that's our last resort. If our life is on the line, yes, we take care of business. If our family's life is on the line, yes, we take care of business. It's simple, but we can't just be brandishing firearms and being like, yeah, get out of here. We can't be doing that. If my gun comes out, I'm going to use it. Simple. My family knows that. I don't brandish firearms. It comes out, it's being used. So that's something that a lot of people I don't think even understand, especially like these young kids who thinks firearms are cool, to point it at people. Not cool. Not cool at all. That firearm only comes out to save your life or training. Those are the only two times. But I want to talk really quickly about the goal thing, because I think it's another good thing, a teaching moment, I feel, as well, about setting goals. So when I grew up, I was a mess up. I really was. I was a high school dropout twice. I wound up getting my GED late in life, which was only about 15 years ago now. Okay. It was a program where you went to college for full time. You took the associate's program. You took like 28 credits and they gave you your GED. So I was like, great, cool. I wound up finishing and getting my bachelor's in engineering. So I went from remedial classes to calculus. Okay. Two different worlds. So my point to that is that when I was younger, I had zero goals. But once I was older, I started understanding that if I don't have goals, there's no way I'm going to be successful, because I don't have the steps to get to where I need to get. Goals just don't happen overnight. You might have a large goal, like say my goal, right? I want to be nationwide, right? I have to make those small steps to be nationwide. It doesn't just happen, Same thing with my book of business. When I opened up my book, I didn't have anybody. I didn't know anybody that wanted to hire me. I was brand new. I couldn't even give my training away. Okay. But you got to start somewhere. So that's your goal. Get 10 clients in a month. Okay. Or in a year, you want to have 50 clients that you have trained. Back to my franchising. Okay, I got to start going to different states and looking at other trainers and being like, would you be interested in owning a She Trains You franchise or something like that? That's how you make those steps to make growth happen. People who are, I don't want to say rich, but people who are well off and know what they're doing and who are successful, this is how they do things. And really, when I started school is when I really started understanding the goal mindset that it needed to happen. And I needed to have a large goal, and I needed to have small subset goals that lead up to that main goal in order for me to crush that goal. And once I started crushing goals, it was like addictive. And I almost want to say almost like drugs, because it was. I was like, yes, I'm doing so good. I want another goal. Yes, yes. And it was just constantly feeding me. And now my new goal, like as of today, is me getting healthy. I had double back surgery. So I was not only overweight, I had a really terrible back. I had to relearn how to walk. I had to relearn how to go to the bathroom. I was almost in a wheelchair. Okay. So coming from where I came and to where I am now, and I just recently did 6 whole push-ups at once. Literally, that was like, I came from almost out of a wheelchair to doing push-ups. So, it is about those goals. It's about setting them, and it's about maintaining them and keeping your eye on the ball. Maybe that one day you feel off, but the next day, get back to it. Stop procrastinating. You got to get off the couch and you got to put those, even if you have to write them down or have like a goal board or something that you look at every day. That's what you have to do. I personally use a Google Calendar on everything I have to do. Like today was my meeting with you. I set a day reminder. So like yesterday, I was reminded that today I had to do this with you. An hour ago, I was reminded that I had to do this with you. And about 10 minutes before we had to do this, I was reminded I had to do this with you. This is how I get my goals done. And this is how I maintain a schedule that I don't ever miss. Okay. Because one, I set myself up for success. I remind myself, oh, it's going to happen. Oh, I got to be there. Oh, I got to wear my shirt. Oh, I got to put my hat on. Oh, yeah, right. All that has to, that makes sense. You know, if I would have showed up to you with my hair all messy with a tie dye on, you'd be like, who is this? You know, like, you really have to set yourself up for success. And that really, I say that so often in my business, but it really is the truth. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful. It's really that simple.
Awesome. 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 All right. So we're just coming to the end here. And of course, Step Ahead Tutoring Services is a educational company, and you are one of our honorary sponsors. So could you tell us, what does education mean to you?
Education is huge. It really is. You will never change if you do not educate. I am a sponge, okay? I will never stop learning. I will never know enough about firearms. I will never know enough about self-defense, and I don't want to. And I will also stay humble. Humble is key. You can't be like Miss Know-It-All. You know, people respect people who will go and get the answer and come back to you more than you just spitting out the answer like that. They do. So be humble, get your training, get as much training as you possibly can. Always be learning, whether you're reading, whether you're listening to a podcast, whether you're in a college like this or tech school, or any way to increase your knowledge and your resume is bonus. If you guys are young, this right now, what I'm telling you is a golden ticket. Do what you got to do right now, because when you get to your 40s, it's not so fun anymore. Okay. I mean, it's fun, but it's not, you don't have as much energy. Think your attention is required elsewhere with family and obligations. So when you're young, you have a little bit more focus time. Focus on you. That's your time. Shine. Okay. When you're 40, you'll be able to enjoy everything. You don't want to wait and procrastinate, because then you're going to be regretting it for the rest of your life, that you didn't put the goals and you didn't put the time in and you didn't do this and you didn't do that. Regret is really a hard pill to swallow. Okay. So please get out there, listen to Gabriella and her school, and listen to these podcasts and listen to these people. We know what we're talking about. We've been in the working world. We understand what it takes to be successful, and we understand what it takes to be dedicated to whatever you want to do to make yourself successful. So I wish you all peace, and I hope that that really does go out to you and hit you somewhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was very, very informative, and I hope that all of you guys take advantage of our services. Where are you located?
I'm in Long Island, New York. So what are you guys, in the city, I think?
Yeah, we're in New York City.
Oh, you're in New York City. Well, I'm in Long Island. New York City needs a long gun license and a handgun license to do anything. But the loophole, you can come to Long Island and train with me on my stuff, not handguns, but rifles. You can come to Long Island and play with me if you'd like, at the Nassau County Rifle and Pistol Range in Uniondale, right by the Nassau Coliseum. And we can play with a bunch of fun things. So reach out to me if you want to book a session. Just, the cost, it's $75 an hour. It's a 2-hour minimum. I bring all the guns. You guys are required to pay for the ammo. It's at market value. And my phone number is 516-749-8650. And my email is shetrainsyou, at outlook.com. And that's she trains with an S. At outlook.com. And what else? My website is www.shetrainsyou.com.
What about social media?
I'm all over social media. Yes. So Facebook I'm on. Just look up She Trains You. You can also look up the Long Island Women's Firearm Club if you're interested. That is also on Facebook, and at www.liwfc.org. And what else? I'm on Instagram, same name. I'm on TikTok. I'm on a bunch of things. But, wherever it gets the brand name out, we do it.
Awesome. Awesome. And you're not just limited to Long Island because of your virtual services.
True.
You also go nationwide.
Right. If you wanted to hire me online, not a problem. Those are usually cheaper. I would say between $30 and $40 an hour, depending on what you want to learn. And yeah, we do like a Zoom for like an hour or two. Definitely can do online, not a problem. I appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you. I always forget about my online services, but yes, I do that too. And yeah, I guess that's really it.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so Miss Ludwig, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all the best with your business.
Thank you. Thank you for having me as an honorary sponsor. I really appreciate that. You guys have a great day, and I hope you found a few nuggets in what we said.
All right, awesome. Thank you, and thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.